It's a positive film. It has heroes and villains, and that it essentially is a fun movie to watch. It's been a long time since people have been able to go to the movies and see a sort of straightforward, wholesome, fun adventure.
Well, it's a fantasy. It's not science fiction so much as it is space fantasy. And it's about people. It's finally about people and not finally about science.
The story, when you actually put it into words, is only so much nonsense to hang a great visual experience onto. It's the stuff that fairy tales are made of.
It's sort of boiling down religion into a very basic concept. The fact that there is some deity or some power or some force that sort of controls our destiny works for good and also works for evil.
Marvellous, healthy innocence. Great pace, wonderful to look at, full of guts, nothing unpleasant. I mean, people go bang bang and people fall over and are dead, but, no horrors. A sort of wonderful freshness about it, kind of like a wonderful fresh air.
It's got whatever you want it to be. It's pure entertainment. It's like a roller coaster ride, and it can be interpreted as long as you enjoy it, which is the intention.
Hello, welcome back to Generation Skywalker, and this is our April edition of Those Old Fossils. Who is with me tonight? Well, we've got the only man I stand next to and feel a little short. We've got Si. Good evening, Si.
Evening, Stu.
We've got the wonderfully beautiful Craig. Good evening, Craig.
Hello, folks.
Good stuff. And we've got Mark. Hi, Mark.
Good evening, chaps.
All the way from Afghanistan. He is still with us. We've got Jez. Good evening, Jez.
Good evening, Stu. Good evening, lads. Good evening, everyone.
And how are you? Are you keeping safe, Jez?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Thanks very much, mate. I'm hanging on in there.
Now, you've put on your Return of the Jedi duvet, your Empire Strikes Back pillowcase, and your, is it a Star Wars sheet?
Yeah, fitted Star Wars sheet. I'm
covering it all, aren't you?
It's made such a difference. I've been looking forward to it all week. I mean, everyone knows that I'm an absolute nerd. And, I've brought my costume with me and I bought a few little things and stuff. But I had to wait for my roommate to leave. I didn't quite have the confidence to crack it out. And so I've been looking forward to this because I knew he was shipping out today. So, I'm looking for, I'm going to have a good night's sleep tonight. I can feel it.
How do you feel you should have had the confidence anyway, mate?
Yeah, maybe I should. I mean, I need to have a lot of confidence to do what I'm doing. But I don't know, maybe it was just one of those treats which I was looking forward to. So I arrived here 2 weeks ago and I set up my loose figures. So I'm looking at them now because I've brought out with me, as I always do, I've got my Luke Skywalker and X-Wing costume and the original Luke Skywalker, sometimes referred to as the farm boy. I've got that. I've got various things. And in fact, I'm wearing my Star Wars slippers. It doesn't stop there. I've got all sorts of stuff. So maybe I was just, easing myself in. Didn't want to go too hard too soon.
Yeah, bit of a problem you normally have. But hey, that's another discussion. So currently, the planet's in a bit of a mess. Majority of us are in lockdown. It is a very strange time since we last recorded one of these shows. So I wanted just to open just with a general kind of chit-chat question about what are your personal targets for collecting vintage this year? Because I know we touched on what we collect, but if there's an item you're after or a little run you want to complete, especially in these times, money's going to be tight for certain people this year. And I think we're seeing it. Not a great deal of vintage around on the likes of eBay or the Facebook groups, whether that's people not wanting to put things up or because of the situation or getting to the post office, I don't know. But so just going to go around all of you, what your personal targets are when it comes to vintage collection this year. So let's go with Mark.
Just try and complete my Palatoy reseal run. I think that's probably the thing that I'm most looking forward to trying to achieve this year, if possible. I only need a handful of figures. Admittedly, some of those are the really tough ones, like a 30-back Fett. But yeah, I'm down to the last 4 or 5, and I've recently picked up one. So, almost there. And I'm really, really pleased with how my display looks now. And I can sit down and look at it and really sort of take some time enjoying the collection, which this current problem that we've got in the UK and the rest of the world has allowed me to do. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do.
When you say your resale run, some of the listeners won't know what we're talking about. Now, this was debut figures
on Palatoy cards.
On Palatoy cards, but not including Jedi, because you've got a chip on your shoulder about the Jedi cards.
Yeah, People who know me and know me well know that I don't like the Jedi logo for some bizarre reason. It's a totally aesthetic thing for me. But yeah, I only collect Star Wars and Empire, so all the 12 backs, the 20 backs, and the 30 backs, and the 45 A's.
Right, and so you've done well then to only be 4 or 5 away. So yeah, we wish you luck with that challenge this year, mate. We'll have to have an update at the end of the year, see how you got on. What about you, Si? Well, we're going to get onto it later during one of the topics, but you've knocked off a bit of a desirable this week.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this since I saw your show notes, and I don't think I've got any sort of ambition this year in terms of Star Wars collecting. I think I'll just be glad to get through without having to sell anything off. But also, the market's changed so much. So, 2 years ago, you could say, this year I'm going to buy a vinyl Cape Jawa or a Emperor's Royal Guard on Chai logo. And you know that there'd be so many that would come up. But now it's, I don't know, these things tend to go into collections, particularly the harder to find items tend to go into collections and don't come out. And when they do come out, the prices go stupid. So I'm just going to carry on directionless and just meander through collecting, I think.
Yeah, why not? What about you, Jez? Because you meander through life generally.
It's true. I mean, I'm surprised I found my way back to the computer earlier on. I was meandering so much. I know I had something in mind, and then when Si started talking, I was like, oh, damn it. It's just kind of like half poo-pooed my idea. Because I was just thinking, I'd actually really, really would like a vinyl Cape Jawa. But you know me, mate, I've been saying that now for several years. It's always been on my top 5 things to get.
It's one of those things that they definitely come. I've never had an inkling to buy one, but bought one last year.
Yeah, I remember
one of the auctions, and wasn't too bad a price. So just right place.
Yeah, you got a nice deal on that, didn't you? I think, did that have a slight pinprick hole which was under the arm or something?
Under the arm, you can't see it when he's got his arms down. But,
no, I think you got a good deal with that. I mean, I remember when I first found Star Wars Forum UK in about 2009, and someone offered me one for about £250. And back then I was like, whoa, I don't know, mate, that's a lot. And now 11 years later, thinking, I should have, would have, could have. So
I turned one down at Farthest From in 2014, 2015 for about 300 quid. It's just crazy, isn't it? That was one of those items that just went mental. So you are looking for the little fella.
Yeah, it's a silly thing because, I like having a small collection. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, later on. But I kind of like curating it when people come to visit. And the thing is about vinyl Cape Jawa is it's got a story, it's got a background, it's got a piece of history which a lot of people, non-collectors, have heard of. So for me, it's an important thing to have.
And Craig?
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with a couple of things that people have said. Setting yourself targets in this environment is quite difficult. It's very open-ended. I don't know how much I'm going to have to make my money stretch. So I'm not, writing lists and intending to tick things off. But there are things on there things to complete runs that I will always be keeping an eye out for. So I'm after a pair of guns for my 15-inch IG-88 that I bought off Mark some months ago from the NEC. Beautiful figure, bandolier and all the bombs, but I still need to get some guns for him. So keep my eye out for that. And I'm missing one lightsaber for my Kenner Force lightsaber display, which irritates me because it's lopsided, having a gap in there.
I love that display. That's the box, isn't it, that they slide into?
Yeah, they've got the little holes. So I've got a mix of, I think the Empire were yellow and red, and then the Jedi ones are green and red. So I've got two strips of red and a strip of yellow and a strip of green. It looks great.
Do they come up very often? I know there was a couple in a recent auction, actually, the last couple of weeks, wasn't there? But
I missed out on those. I mean, you do find them in the States more, and the majority that I bought when I was over there on a little break in New York, and I bought everything that I could find on eBay and shipped it all, dismantled it all and shipped it all back in the suitcase because they're just long and
and clunky to ship, and they do tend to be quite battered. they've lived a life. You know, they're all a bit wonky and rattly, and you know, I think pristine ones are very kind of hard to come by. But yeah, if I can get one of those, I'd be quite happy.
Nice. Well, everyone's got some targets, so I was just going to buy everything. I'm a bit like Si actually, Jez. I'm not really after anything. I'm putting together some smaller runs, you know, just been picking up some badges and stuff, and the odd mint on card here and there. But yeah, just what takes my fancy really. Maybe a couple of pieces of Sigma. I think I'm only about 6 pieces away now from finishing it, so they're getting a bit harder to find. So, but something like that would be quite nice. But yeah, just wing it.
Luke, tell Uncle if he gets a translator, be sure it speaks Bocce.
Doesn't look like we have much of a choice, but I'll remind him.
Sadly, we did just say that circumstances are bad at the moment, but also something else that was sad since the last show, and that was the passing of Jim Stevenson, who was known as Mr. Star Wars. Now, I never had the pleasure of dealing with him in the 90s and collecting and that, but Mark, I believe you had quite a connection with him.
I did, and I knew and dealt with Jim from the sort of late 80s all the way through, really, until the last time he was at the NEC, which would have been 2014, I think it was, when he started to become quite ill. And I have to say that Jim was one of the biggest characters on the Toy Fair scene, Toy Fair and collecting scene. And he was also pioneering in the way that he became synonymous with dealing almost solely with TV and film related toys and merchandise. And anybody that will have been to a toy fair where Jim was standing will know that his table was head and shoulders above everybody else's. And not just down to the sort of quality of stock that he had, but also the way that he displayed it. I mean, it was like a wall of just awesomeness. Anybody that will remember his table will tell you that his stuff was just far way and above anybody else's at the fair. He was a character as well. He was a nice guy to talk to, but if you got the wrong side of him, you flipping well knew it. But that's what made him sort of stand out from a lot of the other guys. You know, he was a genuine guy, sort of salt of the earth. Had quite a few nicknames for people. Some of them I won't bother mentioning here. But he was a good guy, and I think the toy fairs in general are just not quite the same with him not being there. He was a good guy, had fantastic stuff, had loads of stories to tell about, you know, finding different rare items and whatever, and he will be very, very sorely missed. And I know that there's a Facebook page dedicated to him called Mr. Star Wars. So if you're on Facebook, have a look for Mr. Star Wars, and it'll bring you up Jim's page, and have a look at some of the stories, reminisce about the original days collecting from the sort of late 80s, early 90s, going through right up until sort of early 2000s. Yeah, just a good guy, and sorry to see him go.
Yeah, nicely put. And that thread you mentioned, well worth going and checking out, because there's some lovely tributes on there for what clearly was a very well respected and thought of man.
The Force will be with you always.
So, moving on to what we do on these round tables, 5 topics as last month. So, we're starting off with topic 1 this month, and it's all about Palatoy. Now, at the moment, like we said, most people are isolated, and, a level of boredom sets in. But Mark, an admin over on the Star Wars Palatoy Collectors Group, you put up a lovely thread about your favourite 5 Palatoy items you own. Love your 5. I'd love that pistol, beautiful, and I love the Greedo. In fact, I like all 5 of them, mate. Mark, can you tell us a bit about it and the response that it received?
It's something that we don't really do enough of on the Palatoy group, which is these kinds of things. And I just thought, right, okay, everybody's in the same boat at the moment. Let's try and get something going. So I thought, right, best 5 Palatoy items, go from there, or best 4. And the response was absolutely fantastic. Some of the stuff that people were posting was just amazing. And it was a great insight into seeing what people's motivation is for collecting Palatoy. A lot of it obviously is nostalgia and whether it be collecting mocks or play sets or some of the other rarer stuff. I know some of the guys had posted some rare promotional material. But also the thing that really did sort of stand out and was quite prevalent was the amount of childhood toys that were making people's top fives. So this just goes to show that it isn't all about rarity or value or condition. It's about people's connection with certain items, and that was really lovely to see. And there was many people that were showcasing exactly that. So yeah, that was great.
It had a brilliant response. And Si, I know you're a massive Palatoy lover and also an admin on that group. Can you highlight a couple of people's fives that really stood out to you?
Well, like Mark says, there was a really interesting mix of, from the sublime to the ridiculous, really. I mean, in terms of standout value and rarity, you had the like of James Richards with some truly astonishing pieces. So a 12-back VCJ Palatoy, 30-back Fett, one of Jim Stevens's own sealed ESB Falcons, that sort of stuff. So you had that right at the top end. But for me, and this was absolutely not deliberately picked, the most interesting and I think the most valuable, not in monetary terms, was our own Craig Spivey's selection of 5. Actually, it's absolutely brilliant. I'll go through them. So starting off with a great photo of Mr. Spivey with his Palatoy Death Star one Christmas with an X-Wing attacking it over the top. So he's still got his Palatoy Death Star still boxed. And then a fantastic piece, Star Wars Han Solo blaster pistol, still sealed, that was gifted by an ex-Palatoy employee to his folks on holiday in the 90s. Childhood Chewie, first Star Wars figure. And I think that probably resonated a lot with me because he was my first Star Wars figure as well. No idea what card back I got him, but it was, a market in Canterbury when I was meant to be at the dentist. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. And he's still got that. Completely frivolous Return of the Jedi Play-Doh set, because the way Salacious Crumb is sitting on the tub tickles me. Nutter. And then finally, really the sort of crowning glory is a C-3PO mask that his dad wore at a Halloween party in 78. And he bought one for him and one for Craig, and he's got a photograph of it there. So I mean, that is, for me, that is exactly what Star Wars collecting is all about. It's that personal connection with these toys about a film that we grew up loving, and that's why that, without a doubt, Craig, hats off, that's an absolutely belting 5. There's some great stuff on the group, and it's not the rarest selection, but it's definitely the best.
Well, bless you. That's my early childhood memories there in 5 items, really, with the possible exception of the blaster, which was a later addition. But yeah, just memories, man. And I'm so happy that I've still got all that stuff.
Craig, do you wish Simon had read all of the show notes?
Yeah, because now my show notes read, Craig, what would your top 5 be?
You see, this is what happened earlier when I went through the because I was looking at the show notes and I was going to mention later on the bloody fake stickers for the Argentinian things, and then I saw that Mr. Daniels had been tasked with that specifically. I thought, oh, that's rather pissed on my parade. I thought this was going to be some really interesting information, and now I've just gone and pissed on your parade. Great. I can choose another 5. It's not a problem.
Oh, no, it's fine, mate. That's what you chose, and you're right. It's the
standout best,
and that's why I was so happy to see so many people showing childhood items rather than Palatoy mocks. It was stuff that they had as a child, and those things really resonated with me. I would give almost anything out of my collection for one of my childhood pieces. I'd say, come in, take whatever you want, and let me just have one of my figures that I had as a kid. I'd be more than happy.
Oh, mate, I couldn't agree more, and that's exactly what I thought when I saw Chewie there on Craig's. I thought, if I still had why didn't I, when I flogged my toys, why didn't I think for a second, you know what, get rid of the lot, just leave me with Chewie. He was my first one. And I looked at the cabinet, I thought, yep, you could take absolutely anything in there for that £10 Chewbacca.
And I can remember buying it. We were on holiday down in Bridgewater, I think, sort of Watchet, I think we were staying. And I remember going to a department store, and you go up the lift, toy department would have been like the 3rd floor or whatever, and I'm walking out into this, toy department and seeing it all on the racks for the first time and just being blown away and which do I get? And taking Chewie, I don't know, just had that appeal. And I remember going back to the caravan park where we were staying and playing with him in the pool. And that's him. That's him on that photograph with a slight bit of touch up on his nose, which I probably did when I was about 12.
My favourite thing about your post, actually, Craig, is your 2 photos. To have photos from that time, you hear so many people, but just that photo, the Christmas tree. Do you know what I mean? We don't have trees like that these days, but everyone had them. That carpet.
I know, those orange curtains, and I've got a tie on, little.
You look really, you've proper dressed up for Christmas, but then I would have been dressed up for Christmas at that age as well. It's just amazing. It's a really great image, and a little table tennis set under the tree. But my favourite one is your dad with his C-3PO costume on.
My dad led my Star Wars interest. It was on his radar before mine. And I remember I grew up in a village, and they used to have a Halloween party in the local community centre. And he was doing Star Wars that year. And I remember him. So his C-3PO costume he used to work at a garage. So they used to spray cars and fix cars and things. So they had these paper overalls which he sprayed gold. He had a hubcap, an old, I don't know, car that had a hubcap that he painted as the sort of central disc. And I remember he bought these Palatoy masks, one for me, one for him, and wore that. But the crowning glory of it was the R2 that he made, which was it was an old spin dryer, like a barrel spin dryer, which he attached chipboard legs to. He wheeled it around on a pair of my old roller skates. So the ones that were adjustable. They used to sort of tie over your shoes with ribbon. That's what he rolled around on. But the dome foxed him for a long time, how he was going to pull this dome off and make that work. And it ended up being my old space hopper that he wedged into the top of.
Yes, I can see it now. Now you're saying it. So I'm looking at it. It's just that is incredible.
There and painted blue. It couldn't be a more 70s object, given those component parts.
Well, again, I think we say this quite often on shows, but you've got to share these images. Is he holding a blaster?
Yes, that's my old hand blaster, because screen accuracy wasn't paramount, and it made a noise and was a bit spacey for a provincial village Halloween party.
I do think I need to ask you on that photo, the man on the left of him. What's he wearing? Just like the Michelin Man.
It was the Michelin Man, yeah. He was.
It is, yeah.
He works with my dad. It's another pair of those paper overalls with inner tubes.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it. Yeah, it's just got everything in that post. The size right. Yeah, it's exactly what those kind of posts are about. Yeah, fantastic. I won't bother asking you about your 5, Craig. Stole it's under there, but you have enjoyed it, and I'm sure you'll share those images with us as well. Jez, I'm going to come over to you now. What would be your fantasy top 5 if Palatoy? If you could own any 5 Palatoy items?
Well, I'm going to take a little bit from everyone, really, because I loved seeing Craig's. I loved to see, I've had a good flick through, and it is something which kept on going, didn't it? On the Facebook group, you saw loads, and then a couple of days later, they'd be like, "Oh, am I late to the party?" Then you'd see a few more, which was brilliant. Nostalgia for me, so I'd love the laser. Be it the Han or the Luke one, Empire Strikes Back. I think the one Mark shown, the Empire Strikes Back Luke one, is gorgeous, and for me that brings back a lot of memories, not of my own toy, but playing with friends. And a friend of mine, Craig, had one of those, which was great. The Palatoy Imperial Troop Transport, because we discussed this. This is such a great underrated toy, because back then, playing with something which then gave you the sounds back, the sounds from the movies, which you didn't have DVDs, you didn't have videos then. This was a toy which came out not long after the movie where you could play the sounds. How cool was that? So yeah, I'd love that. But also featuring in a top 5 is some stuff which I already own. What Mark said about owning some of his original childhood. What I've got is the first figure I ever bought and the last figure I ever bought, which kind of bookends the whole thing really, really quite nicely. And the Palatoy Scout Walker to go with it. So nothing necessarily grandiose or anything, but for me, what represents the beginning and end of my collecting journey as a kid and my friendship was collecting Star Wars.
What about the other 3? You're all big Palatoy lovers. If you could add one Palatoy piece to your collection?
I'd go back to what I originally said about my collecting goals for this year. It would be a Palatoy Fat.
If I can't get my Chartered toys back, which I can't, then yeah, I would actually like something ridiculous like a 12-back VCJ or a 30-back FET, because they are iconic pieces. But yeah, as per Mark, I'd rather just have my old beat of Chewy.
Craig, you've probably got it all, have you?
Not all of it. No. I think the 3-position laser rifle would be a nice addition to what I do have to sit with the blaster. I think that's something for another day. But yeah, that would be nice to have one of those, and maybe some point of sale. You know, I don't have any Palatoy point of sale items really, shelf talkers and things like that. It's set off the collection nicely.
Well, that kind of leads us into topic 2, which...
Hang on a second, the Inquisitor. You're asking us all these questions, but people are probably thinking, what about you?
What about me?
Well, you know, what would your dream be? All right, don't answer that question. I've been out with you, and you do talk in your sleep. What would your dream collection of 5 Palatoy items be, Stuart?
Oh, I don't know, mate. You've put me on the spot a bit there. I would love to have our childhood Death Star back, but I know it ended up in the bin. That got a lot of play, especially the garbage chute. I still love putting things down that. It's probably why I'm still obsessed with like shoot rooms when I find them in blocks of flats now.
I was really worried about what you were going to say then, Stu.
I don't know, really. See, you lot have all got about 5 years on me, I think, minimum. That's not me being rude. I don't have the memory of the Palatoy logo as a child. I don't have that nostalgia to it like a lot of you do. I like the logo, but it doesn't have anything. It doesn't mean anything to me as a nostalgia. It doesn't bring back any memories like that. The toys do, but not the actual logo. But
yeah. Mark's picture here, and it just shows really how much Mark dislikes the Return of the Jedi logo, doesn't it? Because of PS5, he's got the 3 Star Wars ones on the left, and I know Mark's been quite vocal about not necessarily appreciating the Return of the Jedi logo. But to me, when you look at stuff like that, the logo's not necessarily sticking out. They're just great pieces which you have a connection. For a lot of people, it was a nostalgia thing, but for me, it is still more the memories, the colours, the vividness, the imagination over the logo. The logo just anchors it for me, but it's not the be all and end all.
Mark, what do you do when if you know there's some great figures in the Jedi line? You just rule them out.
You see, this is the tough thing for me, because by the time Jedi came out, I was at the sort of peak of my collecting as a child back in the day. So I'm very much a Jedi generation child. And I remember more about buying Return of the Jedi things than I do about Empire or Star Wars. So I would have been, 10 when Jedi came out. So I was at the perfect age. So theoretically, really, I should have Jedi stuff coming out of my ears, but there's just something about it that I just don't. It just doesn't connect with me, and maybe it's because I'm more of a visual sort of person, with me being an illustrator. I don't know. I just don't like it. I find it quite dull. It's not as exciting as the Star Wars or Empire logo. It just doesn't appeal to me at all. But having said that, and going back to the figures, I have considered looking at doing a Jedi mock run once the Palatoy sort of run comes to an end. So it's on the card. Watch this space, mate. This time next year, I'll be knee-deep in Klaatu's and Bib Fortunas.
There's some great figures in that line. And the good thing about the Palatoy Jedi figures is there's no logo. So the actual image, I always think the image stands out loads because there's nothing interrupting it. It's you get that full, beautiful artwork. Oh, it's brilliant.
It's cheap as well, relatively cheap when you compare them to Empire and Star Wars cards. So, and there's plentiful supply. Yeah. So if I did want to get into it, it wouldn't be quite as frustrating and as hard work as putting an Empire or Star Wars run together. That's for sure.
Yeah, the majority of them could be picked up for under £100, really, can't they? There's only a few that will break that.
The year is 1978, and Palatoy bring you Star Wars. Here on Death Star, Ben Kenobi combats the awesome power of Darth Vader, while Han and Leia battle for their lives in the trash compactor. Luke evades the stormtroopers with R2, D2, and C-3PO. But can he escape in the X-Wing fighter? Only you will know. Only you can create your own Star Wars. Death Star, vehicles, figures, all sold separately. May the Force be with you.
Right then, boys. So moving on to topic 2, which kind of ties in. So, like we said earlier, we're all in isolation. The coronavirus is locked down. You can't do anything. So there's no better time to do things with regards to Star Wars. It just so happens our launch coincided with as we went into lockdown with the show. So it's obviously given us a bit of work on here to let Craig run with YouTube videos and blog posts. He's really got involved. So we decided we were going to have a general discussion on things to do in isolation, and then maybe we'll drop our own top 5. So I'm going to let you 4 come up with the ideas, and I'm going to pick my 5 favourites to go into our 5 recommended things. So boys, I don't mind who's going to run with it, but let's throw around some ideas of things you can do whilst you're in isolation.
I think the first and the obvious thing is people's displays and their cabinets, the shelves. You're already sort of starting to see people who have got a bit of time on their hands to devote to just getting those looking like they want them. And I've been no exception in that. I've been having a tinker.
Do you have quite a large display area, Craig?
I have small, disparate display areas, and I think it's something we'll come on to a bit later, because I think it's a fascinating topic, and the whole business of isolating and people sharing online has highlighted just what a broad range of joys that is. But I've got distinct areas for distinct things, or I try to have, but I end up moving them around, and it's always a work in progress, isn't it?
Yeah, I tidy my room up, and my wife dumps loads of stuff in there and knocks it all over. Hey, always good. So displaying, rearranging is a great example.
One thing that I have we've done since we've gone into isolation is, as a family, we decided to get Disney Plus for the kids, but also for me, and sitting down with the family and watching Star Wars as a family, because it's allowed us some real good quality family time. We can't go out beyond the sort of garden, and it's given us an opportunity to sit down and watch things together. And one of the things that we have done is we've sat down as a family and we've watched The Mandalorian, all of us together. And even my wife, who is not science fiction or Star Wars fan at all, has enjoyed it. My son Zach, who's 10, nearly 11 now, I mean, both he and I watched it when it first came out, but sitting down together with his little sister Amy, she absolutely adores Baby Yoda, as we all do. And we've also been watching Rebels. We've been catching up with Rebels and the Clone Wars, the last season of the Clone Wars. Absolutely fantastic, and it's a great experience to sort of share together. So that is one thing that perhaps wouldn't have happened if we hadn't have had this situation that we're in at the moment.
I love a bit of Disney Plus. I've been rewatching the Rebels. I watched them when they were first out, but I've actually enjoyed them more, where I can watch them back to back and delve into it. And you're right, my daughter's in love with. She's only coming up 3. She's in love with Baby Yoda. It's you're right. You definitely share it amongst you a bit more. Maybe right. So what else we got?
Right. Well, that's great. That's great. One of those things where you could do it on your own or with family, as Mark said, sat down with a family. But if you're thinking, right, I've watched that, I've seen all that, and I'm actually on lockdown on my own, or what have you, or got some spare time to myself, I guess from a collecting point of view, there's 2 things which spring to mind. One is you could, as we've already said about your displays, but you could actually give your figures a bit of a clean. Who knows, it might have been that they've just been gathering dust for so long, and they could just do with a really, really good clean. However, more importantly, if you felt brave enough, maybe you could have a closer look at your accessories, weapons, etc. Look at the Imperial gunnery and see if that figure, which you bought years and years ago, when you were convinced was before repro weapons were sort of in the main, and you go on the Imperial Gunnery and actually see for yourself whether or not all of your weapons are completely legit ones. It might not, it might give you some home truths that you don't really want, but at least you can say, yes, I've done it, and I 100% have a set of legit accessories, blasters, lightsabers, etc.
Nice idea. I also think documenting your collection is something that I've never got around to doing and always mean to do it. And even in lockdown, I still haven't done it, actually, so I don't know why I'm saying it, but documenting, I think, everything. I think it's quite vital. Photographing it, photography of some scenes. Now I know I interviewed Chris Leddy on the Hot Toys interview, and he's a big one for putting together scenes and photographing, as is Jason Langendorf. Now, Jason, go and check out his work. Go and become friends with him, because he sets up all sorts of scenes in his garden. And what a better time to do things like that, a bit of photography. Craig, I know you love a bit of photography. Do you set them up?
Yeah, I have done. Yeah, I think the whole documenting thing is absolutely spot on, and it's something that's always in the background. But I have to be really bored to crack open my my database and start filling it in. But I have done what Jez has just advocated. I have been, going through weapons and just checking things. It's been a while, and a lot of that information wasn't there when I was putting this stuff together. It's just it's kind of nice to know, because that knowledge is there. It is nice to know which mould that blaster came from.
I suppose it all kind of goes together, documenting it and examining it, because
it does
through it and put it all together. But yeah, I just never get around to that kind of stuff.
Why don't you give yourself a test? I think I did this once on Star Wars Forum UK, where I just said, right, everyone, give yourself 5, 6, 7 minutes or what have you, and just write down every vintage figure. And I bet there'll be some stuff where you're like, damn it. And it's just, do that whole testing, or do the alphabet game where you try and go through. I think we've done this in Q's, mate, in Celebration, where you go from A through to Z trying to think of a Star Wars figure or some connection with the vintage line or what have you. But yeah, write down, give yourself 5 minutes, see how many figures you can write down in that time. Trying to keep yourself happy. Not that I'm in lockdown, I'm busy as anything.
I'll tell you something that's I've done a couple of recently, and that is, well, I know this is a vintage show, but a bit of Star Wars Lego, which is it's actually quite therapeutic as well when you're stuck indoors. Makes you focus and takes you away. Now, I had my birthday last week. My parents have bought me the Death Star, which I've been umming on about for years, and I've always wanted. It hasn't arrived yet, but I can't wait to get involved in that. That's right up my street. But
yeah, and I think tied to that as well are things like model kits and vintage jigsaws. Yeah. Now, I wouldn't advocate ripping the cellophane off a vintage Airfix, but I've got some made kits with bits that may have pinged off over the years that have just sat on the shelf there waiting for a bit of super glue, and that is something I will get round to. And I'm sure we've all bought vintage jigsaws and thought, I'll do that one day and not go around to it. But to the point of the therapeutic of doing Lego, therapeutic nature of doing Lego, jigsaws are similar, and you've got that kind of added kind of grown-up impetus of going, I'm checking to see if this collection is complete. I'm not just mindlessly doing a jigsaw. I should be trying to find some paid work to do.
It's a good idea, actually, Craig. I've got a load in my garage. I might sit and go through them.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I think even just educating yourself on the hobby, really, if you're a vintage collector, if you're a modern collector, bit of reading some reference books or whatever it is, just getting that bit of knowledge is always good. And get back on the forums, I've noticed on Star Wars Forum UK that there's been 2 or 3 older posters have reappeared. They haven't posted for a few years, which has been nice to see some old familiar names popping up.
Yeah, I'm finding a lot of time being spent on Facebook because my work is pretty much dried up. So I'm trying to keep myself busy, and one of those things that does sort of take me out of the mundane, being stuck inside all day, or sitting around waiting for stuff to do, is being on Facebook and communicating with other collectors, looking at different collections. So social media is an essential part of this, definitely, and I think we'd all really struggle without it at the moment.
And we all had a little Skype session, didn't we, with a beer, which was quite nice for an evening.
We did. I think it's also fair to reveal that we did try and do a bit of a COVID-19 assessment show, which we kind of abandoned because it was just the three of us sort of flapping our jaw trying to work out what on earth was going on, because when it first all started to happen, it was just bewildering. We felt we needed to do something to sort of acknowledge it, but it was difficult, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very strange recording, wasn't it?
Although I think I do recall Mark did declare that he was going to do the ultimate database of footer to bubble.
He did. How's that go, Mark?
I have not reached that level of boredom just yet.
You wait till you run out of Clone Wars.
It is on the cards. God forbid.
Yeah. So actually, there's loads to be getting on with there, isn't there? Loads to involve yourself in and get down to it. And to be fair, Mark, I tell you what you haven't knocked out for a while is one of your posters of like a Run to the Suns type poster.
I have got a new piece of art coming out next month.
Oh, have you? Well, there you go.
Yeah, from Acme. I'd taken a couple of years off, actually. I was getting a bit burnt out, I guess, and I just wanted to step back from it. And I've had loads of emails in the past sort of 6 months saying we haven't had any new art from you, from people that have bought art from me before in the past, and said, have you got anything in the pipeline? And then Acme contacted me and said, would you fancy doing something for the Empire Strikes Back anniversary this year? So I thought, yeah, okay, I'll do that. So that's exactly what I've done. I can't tell you what it is, but I think it's going to be a fan favourite. And no, it's got nothing to do with any bounty hunters.
Oh, Wompa Wompa.
No.
Snaffle.
No.
No, Hat City.
I am your father.
No. It's some of my favourite scenes from any of the films.
Ah, it's Best Bin.
Yeah.
You've always loved the Ugnaughts taking 3PO apart. So just looks a bit like an Ugnaught.
Yeah, I'm not going to say any more than that, other than I'm really pleased with how it looks. So yeah,
I look forward to that. Yeah, perhaps next month it should be an Empire-based show as well, being the anniversary.
Yeah, May 4th as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that outside of the show.
What? See, I no, I don't want to say it because there's no way it's just what Mark's got. See, Mark does all these things like Run to the Suns and the winter snowboarding, the winter, all that sort of stuff. Something slightly different. I was thinking, Best Bin. It could be, Darth Vader's like, we would be honoured if you join us. When the doors open, and he sat down just about to have his lunch, and maybe it's some sort of join Darth Vader at lunch on Empire Strikes Back. No, it's not even close to that, is it? Really, it's nothing like that, is it?
You're way off, Jez. You're way. It's nothing even as remotely interesting as that, mate. I'm afraid to disappoint you.
No, I think you've just relieved everyone, really, because my idea sounded crap.
Right, well, let's move on. So lots of ideas there. I would say that's get involved with your collections, educate yourself, document stuff, watch a bit of Disney Plus, Skype with your mates. There's loads to be getting on with there.
How you doing, you old pirate? So good to see you. I never thought I'd get to see you again.
Well, he seems very friendly.
Yes, very friendly.
Let's move on to topic 3, because I did say earlier there hadn't been a lot of things come out for sale. eBay's quite dry. We did wonder whether the market would be dropping off a bit because, people's jobs and livelihoods maybe a little bit in the balance and whatnot. But there was a big auction at C&T Auctions here in Kent. Well, I'm going to let Si give you an overview of it because I think it was one collection.
Yeah, it was a really nice collection that had been built up since the 80s by a couple in their, I think the auctioneer said early 70s. And they decided, come hell or high water, that the sale was going to go ahead, present situation notwithstanding. So 250 items, almost almost all Palatoy, I guess, really, went through on April the 8th at C&T Auctions, who are based in Kent. And what a sale it was. There was a superb selection of Palatoy mocks, and what was outstanding about them was the condition. They weren't just nice, they were case fresh. There was barely a crease on any of the Palatoys. Everything was crystal clear. Some of the Tri logos had the odd crease on the card, but again, the bubbles were just fantastic. The vehicles, there was things like Endor Escape Set, Power of the Force Endor Escape Set, that was absolutely mint. There was a all but sealed Empire Palatoy Slave One, same with the Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. All this stuff had been really, really well looked after. And there was a right old mix of bits and pieces. It was possibly one of the most eclectic, relatively small collections I think I've ever seen. The only sort of, I don't know, low grade stuff really was a handful of Kenner Jedi carded figures, which were all in pretty tatty condition. But even they were getting strong beats. No, it was a really good sale. Really impressive.
It was, and I think everyone I knew was online watching it. Side, didn't C&T also say this was the most people they'd ever had watching an auction?
Yeah, they were really pleased. I spoke to Glenn afterwards, who is the, I guess, the MD or owner of the auction house, and he said that they had, whereas they'd offered online bidding before, it was mostly their traffic came from the Sales Room or Invaluable, which are well-known platforms. They had their own platform, but they used to charge 2% for it. Well, this time they decided, let's scrap the 2% fee and just see what happens. And they said they've never seen anything like it. They said they were just absolutely inundated. He asked for feedback on how I thought it had gone in terms of the platform. And I said it was really good, really, really good. It was slick. It did what it was meant to do, which doesn't always happen, as we know, Vectis. But it was really, really good. I didn't see, there were a couple of times the audio dropped out. There was no video, and I fed that back to him, said that it's sometimes good to have. But on the whole, I thought it went really, really well.
Yeah, so over to you then, Craig. So more people watching this auction than they've had before, and prices went crazy on some of these pieces. Now, do you think this was due to the fact that this was the first proper auction we've seen since the kind of lockdown and everyone's logged on? So, everyone's a bit withdrawn from buying. Was it expected? What did you expect it to go like that?
I was surprised. I mean, we have talked about where people are going to find the money for luxury items, which is what they are. But I think there are lots of possible reasons why it was as successful. I think one of the big reasons is that, it was 2 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon and everyone was at home bored. And I think, most weekdays that's not the case, is it? So I think that's got to be a contributing factor to its popularity. And I think, as we've just talked about, people are at home with their collections a bit more, and collecting's maybe a bit more front of mind than it would normally be, midweek. I think that's got something to do with it. And also people are probably treating themselves to cheer themselves up a little bit. It is sort of possible to justify these things when you're not going out and you're spending money on petrol or meals out with the family and all the rest of it. I think you can convince yourself that, although it's not $3,000 on a Palatoy mock money, what you're saving on petrol. But I think there's clearly people get a lot of joy out of being involved in these auctions.
Definitely, Mark. Obviously, you're purely in on the Palatoy. With regards to the prices, how did they measure up to recent Palatoy prices? Were they bargains? How much were things overpriced that were overpriced?
I think a lot of it was going for good money. I don't think there were any particular bargains. The one thing that did stand out for me as being a bit of a bargain was the three-way laser rifle, the Palatoy three-way laser rifle, because it was in absolutely superb condition. Now, try and find in one of those in any condition, complete, boxed with the instruction sheet is like it's the topic of an Indiana Jones film. It's a really, really tough thing to find, and that went for $520 plus fees. Now I think, and I know who got it, I think they got a real bargain there, because that was a good price. I've seen them go for much more in a lesser condition. That was one of the bigger bargains. The hand pistol, that was $340 plus fees. So again, I think that was a bit of a bargain, because the amount of people that are after those at the moment is, I get asked about those every other week. Have you got this? Have you got that? So yeah, I was surprised that didn't go over 600, to be honest with you, plus the fees. I know that one sold at the NEC just before the lockdown. That sold for just under 500, and that wasn't in anywhere near as good condition as that one. So yeah, I think they did very well there. As has been previously mentioned, the condition on this stuff was fantastic. I think that's one of the reasons why some of these items were fetching really, really good prices, you know, and hats off to the guys that whose collection it was, because they must have been really pretty worried, because you know they were really on a knife edge. It could go either way. People were either going to keep their spending down to an absolute minimum, or, and this was my theory, there was a lot of board collectors out there who'd missed a lot of events that had been cancelled, toy fairs and Star Wars events like Echo Live and Farthest From, and they got X amount of money to spend, and they were going to spend it come hell or high water. And I think that's why the C&T auction did very, very well. The mock prices were all very good, but again, condition was very good. And how often do you get to see a collection like this in one place in that condition at any one time? It's very, very hard to sort of pinpoint when the last time we had a collection like this come up for sale. And yeah, it was no surprise there was some good prices. But yeah, I think for me personally, those two items were the bargains of the auction when it comes to Palatoy items.
So we saw this has been quite well covered actually. Now, even made the national press. The sellers made quite a lot of money, didn't they? I think they did quite well out of it.
Yeah, I think the hammer total was 84,000, and that's not the end of it either. Glenn said that although there's not a great deal more, there are a few duplicates to come out in the next sale, which is going to be June. Hopefully people will be able to turn up to that one. But he wasn't able to specify what exactly, just that he remembered there were some more Palatoy logos, carded figures to sell.
Yeah, quite amazing, really. Jez, was there anything in there that tickled your fancy?
Yeah, I've been a little bit busy, a little bit preoccupied, and it certainly seems like it was a good one, but no, I wasn't even aware it was on. Bit of a heads up would have been nice, lads. Bit of notice. You guys are all secretly burying it away, thinking, oh, I hope no one notices, hope no one notices. Don't want Jez, that big spender, to get out there and like buy all the loot. But, no, I had no idea.
He sounded a bit bitter. What about the rest of you? Now, Ashley, before I get what you'd love to have picked up, I think there was a couple of pickups in here. Who picked up what here?
Mark, you go, mate.
I got a pick up, and and I've got to thank Simon for doing it for me, because I mentioned about the Cheryl 3PO costume, which was an item I've been looking for some time, and they just don't come up for sale. They only did one licensed product for Star Wars, and it was the 3PO costume. The box art is absolutely fantastic, and I have not been able to find one for years. With work the way that it is and the way things are, I just thought, can I honestly warrant spending any kind of money on a 3PO costume at the moment? And I ummed and ahed, and I mentioned it to Simon, and I went back to him. I said, do you know what, mate, can you do me a favour? And he knew exactly what I was going to ask him. And he said, you want me to bid on that 3PO costume for you, don't you? And I said, yeah, go on then. And I gave him a budget, and luckily, I'm amazed that I got it for the price that I got it for, because it's such a rarity. I know a few other guys that bid me up on it, but yeah, very, very pleased, and thank you very much to Simon for getting it for me as well. I really do appreciate that.
Top pickup, and it was featured on the cover of the catalogue as well. Can't say better than that.
I know, on the cover no less, and yet it just seemed to fly under the radar. It was bizarre.
It's a lovely, lovely item, and I've yet to. Are you going to photograph it along with your metallic poster that goes with it?
I was going to get rid of that, you know. I just because it just felt weird having that and not having the costume. I got really frustrated not being able to find a costume. So I'm now going to keep that with the costume.
Yeah, awesome.
And I know Si couldn't behave himself because he's got a problem.
My problem was I didn't have a Tri-Logo yak face. Problem solved.
Is that the only thing you bought, Si?
It was, mate. Yeah, I did have a few bids, a few cheeky speculative bids on some of the others. I tell you what, and Mark mentioned this actually, actually I think Mark mentioned it. I know Christian did. Their problem was, the only thing I think they really got wrong was by putting a couple of headliners in the first 5 lots. They I think they missed out on a few grand there, to be honest with you. They had a Mintar 2 up first, which I thought did quite well at what it got. And then they had an absolutely stonkingly mint 12-back Chewy as lot number 2. I think it achieved the fair price. I think with fees it came in at about £4,000 or something. But I think you bump that further into the auction and you could have probably got another 400-500 quid out of it. But yeah, I did have a bid on 12-back Vader and 12-back Jawa, both of which I thought went for really quite reasonable prices considering the condition. But that was it, really. That was it. The only other lot I really would have liked, but I had to control myself because it would have just ended up in a box and get damaged. They had a whole lot of the blown plastic kiddies masks. I think there was about 16 of them in a lot. And they don't come up very often because they're generally absolutely battered. But there were 16 of them, and the whole lot sold for, I think it was 80 hammer, which was a bargain. I thought maybe mount them on like little shields, hunting trophies, with all the wall space that I don't have.
Well, there you go. So a great auction, and it was nice that it went ahead because I noticed things like Vectors now have all cancelled their auctions, haven't they? So it did still keep us in the mix with something to do and something to watch. And I think the sellers will be happy. I think the buyers with their items will be happy. So I think it was a win-win all round.
It's funny you say this, Stu. Just on a side note for everyone here, Vectors are reinstating some of their sales and they're carrying on with some of their sales, but they're only doing it for the ones that were only going to be online only, which strikes me as a bit of a wimpy way of doing it, because what's the difference for them? Might as well just run the whole bloody lot, eh? And I think they do rather well, as we've just seen from C&T, because the Strettons mocks, 60-odd Palatoy carded figures straight out the factory shop in a loft for the last 40 years now aren't going to be on sale until June or July probably, but dump them on the market now and they'd probably do rather well.
No, there is another.
Right, on to topic 4, where we're going to be talking about an Argentinian Pepsi promotion. Now, what's made me talk about this was a blog post over on the Star Wars Collectors Archive by Ron Salvatore talking about some of the stickers being reproduced. But I thought we'd have a quick look at the promotion to start with anyway. Craig, I asked you to see if you could find out and explain what the promotion was.
You did. And what I could find out was that it was created for the Argentinian market and was timed for March 1984, so a year after Jedi was on general release, and timed to coincide with kids going back to school. So it was a way of Pepsi Cola creating some interest in their products by providing kids with back-to-school items that included rulers, set squares, erasers, and a set of stickers. They were distributed, from what I can tell, through grocery stores. I'm not exactly sure what the exact mechanic was, whether you purchased your item and these were handed over. There's no detail that I've found that confirms or denies that. But one interesting little contextual point that I'd like to make, that it was about 2 months after Michael Jackson's hair caught fire after filming that Pepsi ad.
That's a great that's a great
just to take us back to that time.
Like that. So, Si, Craig's just alluded to what items were available, but the range was quite unique with their designs. Can you just kind of describe the range and the designs that were on these things?
I think it would be summarised by the word Technicolor. I've no idea who set up their presses, but they have chosen a bizarre colour scheme for various characters to appear on various items. So it was odd. Virtually everything was odd about it. So the rulers were neither 15 nor 30 centimetres. They're 20 centimetre rulers. There were 5 of them, each featuring 3 characters. I think one of them had four characters on it. And then there were 5 triangles, sort of mathematical triangles, again featuring characters on each one, a single character on each one. You say unique. I've got feeling I've seen some of that imagery elsewhere, and I've also got a feeling it might have been in the Star Wars comics. I'm pretty sure some of those images look like they're lifted straight out of the Marvel comics. In particular, the stormtrooper on one of the rulers running with his blaster. Seen that on, I think it's the Light Shades that they did, the comics, and indeed something else. So I don't think any of the imagery was actually original. They've just sort of grabbed whatever they fancied and stuck it on it. And then in addition to that, there were 3 erasers. So, I mean, what are those numbers? 5 triangles, 5 rulers, 3 erasers, and the 8 stickers. It's all a little bit bizarre, frankly, and they don't massively appeal. I'll be honest, you'd have to put that in, but these pop up from time to time for sale, don't they? And they're not exactly expensive, but they just don't appeal.
I quite enjoy the rulers. I think you're a bit crazy.
I just think they're a bit, frankly, mate, I think they're a bit pants.
Well, let's just go back to the triangles a minute. Okay, so you got 5 characters: Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie, R2, right?
Yeah.
Now, Luke is clearly meant to be holding a lightsaber, but how thick is it?
It's a cricket bat. It's a blue cricket bat.
I just think that image is brilliant. And then Leia, who's clearly meant to be on a speeder bike, looks like she's just spread her legs and just holding on a couple of handles. Yeah.
It's just the worst. They're just terrible. The only one that actually really works, I think, is Chewie. I quite like the way that Chewie's sort of popping out the triangle, but other than that, they're just a bit rubbish.
See, I've always really liked them. I've always really kind of liked I like on the rulers, I like the Emperor's green face.
Leia's green hair.
Well, yeah, that's quite funky. The burgundy X-wing. You designer boys, what do you think about the designs?
I like them. I think they're quirky.
Yeah, no, I like them. They're different, and I'm not a fan of Jedi. So
you've never said.
I quite like them. I think they're all right.
I'm very intrigued by the erasers because they certainly the image I've got. There's the Luke and the Leia eraser, the bell-shaped ones from the Helix range, and then there's a third one. And the image I've got's not great. I think it's a snap from the collecting track presentation. I can't quite see what it is. Could be R2.
I love them. I can't believe Si's not interested in them.
Right, as I said earlier, for me, Star Wars is about nostalgia. These images don't mean anything to me because I never read the comic books. They're from Argentina, so weirdly enough, I never saw them. And they can't even make a ruler in the correct size. The stickers, they are cool. I like those. The rest of them, meh.
But let's just go through the stickers for a minute then as well, because you've got the main characters, Luke, Leia, Han, Vader. In fact, Luke and Vader's lightsabers look like your Force lightsabers you've got. Looks like you playing with them, don't they?
Yeah.
3PO's having a little chuckle because he's just left a stink bomb or something. B-Wing, a bit random. Wicket, Leia Bouche, not Leia Bouche, Leia Endor, isn't it? And R2. I like them. I think they're really nice, but this is where we kind of come on to here, because Ron Salvatore did a wonderful blog, as his blogs always are, over on the SWCA, about these stickers being reproduced. What are the issues? Why have they suddenly thought that these are reproduced stickers? How can you identify them?
A bit of a strange one, this, because it seems such a strange thing to want to counterfeit, really, because they're such a niche item. I can't imagine for 1 second there'd be a whole host of people after these. So, yeah, to want to counterfeit them, I guess this goes through the counterfeiter's brain. I mean, they can't be the sharpest tools in the box. They really can't. But anyway, Ron says that he'd been looking for 2 stickers for some time to complete the set of 8. I think one of them was the B-Wing and the R2. And he managed to find the 2 he was missing from a chap from Argentina. And he collected them at Celebration. And the thing about this was, and this is a seasoned collector, almost instantly getting them in hand and feeling right from the offset that something wasn't quite right about these two stickers that he'd paid about $20 a piece for, I think he said. When he got back and he put them alongside the other ones, the legitimate ones that he'd got, the size was wrong for one. And you would think getting the size right from a square would be one of the easiest things for a counterfeiter to get right from the start. But no, the size was wrong. The print quality. Now, as somebody who knows a little bit about print, you know full well that if you're scanning an original piece, there will be a certain amount of degradation each time that image is reproduced. So, yeah, the image wasn't quite as sharp. It was slightly blurred, not as sharp as the originals, which would go hand in hand in somebody trying to pass them off as originals. But the cut and the trim, there was like a nasty sort of cut into the sticker. Again, you know, it should be the easiest thing in the world to cut a straight line, and yet they can't even get that right. So whoever was knocking these out was just a complete fool. Paper stock. Now, this is the big thing with these. This is the big tell to know that these were definite bootlegs, definite fakes. Because when he went back to the guy who sold him the stickers, the guy said, "Oh, well, that's just part and parcel of what happened back in the day. You know, printing quality wasn't as good as it was in the US or whatever, and you know these things were printed on really rough material. That's why they're like they are, and they're not. That's why they're not quite the same as the others." And Ron kind of, you know, you could tell that he wasn't sort of bought by that explanation. And in a conversation with another collector who'd got a couple of these, said in some research, the paper stock, which the fake ones had been printed on the back, it featured a logo, and the logo for this company was only brought into use in the 1990s. So again, there's no way that that's going to be vintage if the paper stock is from a new company. That's how you can tell that they are fakes. And a good bit of detective work there from Ron.
Yeah, definitely. And also, if you want to listen to a bit more, actually, Ron is on episode 12 of the Kivecast's Bloglog. I can never say this out loud. Bloglog pod back in October last year. And at the end of that episode, if you hang around, you will hear Ron talk about this himself. Yeah, some great detective work. A fantastic blog post. It's up there in your kind of neck of the woods. That one, Craig. I like it.
We're all raising the bar together.
Yeah, definitely worth going and checking out because it's a fascinating line. It's got obviously pictures of the rulers and the triangles on there. Sadly, there's no image of the erasers on there, but you can go and check out those images that Cy so despises. But definitely want to check out. Now, boys, does anyone have any of these items?
No.
And that is how much you actually love.
I've been tempted to pull the trigger on the rulers a couple of times, but never have. I'm
surprised I don't. I mean, they do tick a lot of boxes for me, the quirky art, and, you know, I'm a fan of pens and pencils and set squares, as you know.
Just generally, yeah. Love it. Well, I think they're quite a nice little quirky kind of range. Probably look for one and buy a couple and then change focus, Si?
That's pretty standard.
Right, well, yeah, go and check out that blog post.
Good.
Now, moving on to the final topic, Size Matters Not, as Si's been telling Sylv for many years. I'm going to let Craig run with this. He came up with a great suggestion as a topic. There's been a lot of collectors showing off their collections, especially in the States, who have vast areas. We obviously live in smaller houses in the UK. So, Craig.
Yeah, and we have seen some amazing spaces, just awe-inspiring collecting rooms that we would probably all aspire to have in our lives, to cherish and curate. But, as you've mentioned, all things not being created equal. Not everyone has the luxury of, a giant basement or a attic space to display their collections, especially over in Europe or the tiny island of the UK. And I think it's important to recognise that we all have limitations on how we display our collections. And I was just worried that maybe people would be reticent to kind of show their wares, given that the benchmark is already out there with some of these incredible displays. So I just wanted to talk about that for a little bit, because I know it's not just space that limits how we show our stuff. I think there are issues around accessibility and disability, and getting to physical spaces and working with them. But also, we don't live in isolation. We have partners that we have to navigate around in terms of sharing space with other people, security concerns, things like daylight, damp, heat control, and then even things like transiency. We've talked about Jez's little collection overseas, which I find amazing. I think that's great. So what I'd like to do is find a way of sort of championing some of these smaller collections, and maybe we can collate and showcase kind of any innovations out there, anything that people have come up with that you can look at and take some inspiration from. Personally, I moved into a very tall, thin 3-story apartment about 3 years ago, and I've had to be really creative with the space. So I've got like landings where the stairs dogleg around, and it's kind of dead space, but it's quite narrow and tall. And I've had to sort of look at alcoves, and we don't have an attic space. It goes up to skylights at the top of the building. So there was a lot of dead space above the stairs, which I've used. So it's been a 3-year project to make that work and find a way of storing / displaying some of my stuff. But I'd love to sort of hear and see examples of what other people have done, not only around the table now, but whether we can get some listeners to contribute some things that we can share amongst our community. So these crammed in collections, or whether people have been creative with wall mounting or ceiling mounting, or they've got dual function furniture that's a coffee table but it spins around and it's got a Millennium Falcon in it. Yeah, I just want to throw that out there and get some inspiration, really.
When I knew that we were going to be talking about this, there is always one collection that it sticks in my mind, because. And it's not just the fact that they've got some nice items. I mean, it's not made up of hugely valuable items. But there's one collector who I personally think has got one of the most unique displays and spaces available, and he's turned it into just an amazing little tiny room. And it's a guy called Andrew Palmer, and he posts quite a lot on Echo Base, and he's a fellow BMX enthusiast. His collection is housed in a little cupboard under his stairs at home. It's the only space he's got available. He hasn't got a spare bedroom that he can use or anything like that. This is very much a sort of Harry Potter style collection, in the fact that he has got the space under the stairs, and he has filled it from floor to ceiling, as high as it is, with all sorts of stuff. And I'm not just talking about loose figures. I think he's managed to get an Imperial shuttle in there, I think, with various displayed figures next to it. But also he does a lot of Beyond the Toys type stuff. So a lot of stickers, stationery, oddball kind of items. It's fantastic. I would urge anybody, and I will post some pictures up of his collection. I love it, and it's one of my favourite collections to look at, because it feels as though the whole thing is once you're sat in that room, it's all around you. It just feels like you're completely surrounded, almost like a sort of Star Wars vintage womb, as it were, where you're kind of huddled in there, and it's just amazing. I love it. It's fantastic.
Sounds amazing.
Honestly, it really is. When you see the pictures, I think you'll agree that he's done a fantastic job. It's one thing to collect, but it's another thing entirely to display items and do it in a certain way that is pleasing to the eye. This isn't just about like sticking stuff on shelves, wall to ceiling. He's got a real eye for detail and how to display these items and getting the most out of them. And like I say, there isn't anything in there that's worth a ton of money. This isn't about value in terms of monetary terms. It's about what he gets from it. And it looks fantastic. And hats off to the guy. He's done a real good job on it.
How do you have yours displayed, Mark? Is it all in your office?
Well, I'm lucky enough to be able to work from home. So when we bought the house that we're in about 8 years ago, I had the integral garage converted into an office. It's half office and half sort of collection room. I'm one of these people that if I can't display it, then I get rid of it. Everything I own, I have on display. And I have sort of several glass cases full of my collection and various shelves and posters up and stuff like that. And it's what I've always wanted. It's what I've always dreamt about. You know, a lot of people dream about being millionaires or having fun. All I ever wanted was to be able to work for myself, doing the job that I love, and have a collection room with me so I could sit in it all day and look at these things. And as far as I'm concerned, my dream has come true. I'm a happy man. I love my room.
Yeah, you're fortunate. I was quite fortunate when we bought our house. It's got a large garage with it, outhouse type building. And my wife always said, you can have it for your collection. But I've just filled it with stuff and I can't get it cleared. She's given me permission to have it all converted properly. You know, the walls done properly, the floor done properly, plumbing put out there and everything. So I've got a toilet. I can't get around to clearing it. Simon won't come and buy the stuff out for me.
You've adopted the Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark sort of storage option, haven't you? Really? You put me to shame, Stu, I tell you. I aspire to be as cluttered as you.
Your office is cluttered. Simon's got quite a big office, and you can just walk in his door, just get to the desk, to the sides.
It's that bloody Thundercats Lion-O.
That's not even in there, Mark. The best one
I'm going to sell that to you one day, Mark. I am. I tell you.
I popped in to see him once, and he'd bought himself a pinball table in his office, and it was huge. It took up loads of room. But he was telling me that he and his brother had to take off all the doors to get it through the house.
But the most irritating thing is I've had it for probably over 2 years now. It's worked for 3 days.
Are you kidding?
No.
Was it broke?
Yeah.
Which one was it, mate? Was it was it the Star Wars one?
It's the best one. It's the Sega one from '97.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant when it bloody works.
So,
what was the topic?
Simon.
Well, you talk about innovative storage and display solutions. So my pinball machine is currently buried underneath a wealth of boxes and packaging because all it is essentially is a big table.
Is a table. Do you have a vision for it? Do you go in that room and go, I know exactly what I want to do with this, and you know, one day I will do it, or have you just accepted the status quo?
No, absolutely not. What, in terms of the room or the room?
The room.
No, I've not accepted the status quo. I'm on a constant mission to sell bits of tat. The trouble is, I sell something, I feel really pleased. I take it out of the room, I package it up, I post it out, and this could be 10 items a week. And I swear to God, month on month, no chance you'd see the difference. No chance.
You buy like 30, 40 items a week.
No,
you go to Ford Boot Fair and send me photos constantly. I bought this. How cool is this? You bought like an old card shuffler from a casino from the 1950s. I bet you still got that.
Very well on that, actually. What did I pay for that? I paid 20 quid for that, and I got 100 quid for it on eBay. So
I think the question is, though, Si, is, right, because I'm going to bring it back to the topic.
Oh, don't you dare.
Do you have anything on display?
Yeah, I do. I've got 2 cabinets on display, and I've also... I arrange bits and pieces around the room, so even if there is no room, so I've got a work computer, a giant tower PC next to me, and on top of there is my GW case with the first 12 and a mail away stand with the figures in it. So I will find spaces right in front of me. Still, I've got that ridiculous the Tazos Are Back 3D display from '97 right in front of me. So I'll find places to stick bits and pieces. How is it how I want it to be? No, absolutely not. But would I give up all this junk? No, absolutely not.
I think you're right, Craig. I think this is probably a topic more for the listeners and tight spaces. It'd be great to get a bit of a discussion going across different groups on this and seeing how people do it.
I think so. I think there's lots we can learn. I mean, I know of people with significant collections that are just in storage, and you kind of go, well, what's putting them off, you know, and rotating. People talk about I rotate my. Does that work? Do people do that?
I suppose so. I have stuff boxed up, but I know that once I do get the garage sorted, I'm going to have the space. Most of my vintage stuff, my Minton cards are in my office behind me, my Sigma's behind me, and a few odd bally bits, a few bits on the wall. Yeah, mine's only a small office, got quite a lot of stuff in it.
You know, Stu, you've got to just think about how enjoyable it's going to be when that room is ready and it's painted and it's decorated and it's ready to move into. How much fun you are going to have eventually having your collection up on display in its entirety.
Yeah, I might have to have a Generation Skywalker knees up weekend where we unpack.
Having a reason for doing it is a really valid point. And I know they have lots of meetups over in the States, space to kind of have the socials, but we should do that. We should set ourselves some timelines and get things kind of presentation ready. Show the stuff off. It might just be a bit that tips us over the edge and gets things finished.
You're welcome up here anytime, lads.
Can we not go out into Hanley or wherever it was and get stared at aggressively by every twat in the area, Mark?
That you more than welcome to come up and sample the Stoke-on-Trent.
Do you think people just thought it was Right Said Fred out and they were like staring at you?
Oh, hey.
The trouble is, mate, most of Stoke-on-Trent blokes look like Right Said Fred. Just a lot more angry looking and a lot more pissed off.
They did seem to be a little bit miffed that night. I don't know what their problem was.
That's a pretty standard night in Newcastle under Lyme. That is, mate. It's nothing new. That it's just people for you around here.
Well, we'll push out that question then to the listeners. We'll try to share it on a couple of groups and get some discussion going, because it'd be great to revisit this next month and see what there is.
Definitely.
And what we see. I'd like to try to see the collection that Mark had mentioned, and a couple of your alcoves would be quite nice to see as well, Craig.
I shall put it on the list of videos to make. Back to what we were talking about with Palatoy. Right? What makes people put out the things they put out, and it's not just about having everything and filling the walls. I think there's some stories to be uncovered.
Yeah, definitely.
Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you? And where you should not.
Okay, so that is nearly it for this month's Those Old Fossils. I definitely think May's show, we will look at the Empire anniversary, and I don't know which angle we'll take on that, but we'll have a discussion about that before next month. But if you do want to check out our other areas, go onto the website over at generationskywalker.com. A couple of fantastic blog posts from Craig currently on there. Links to all the shows. Go over to YouTube, just search Generation Skywalker. There's a fantastic video over there at the moment about our Helix anniversary show we did. Well worth taking a look out and seeing exactly what Craig and Mark produced for that brilliant anniversary range. And obviously we're on social media, so go and check out Facebook, Twitter and Instagram just by searching Generation Skywalker on all three of them. And if you want to get in touch with us, email us at generationskywalker@gmail.com. But it is for this month. From the other side of the world, goodbye, Jez.
See you next time.
It is a goodbye from Craig.
Cheerio.
A goodbye from Mark.
Sayonara, guys.
And a goodbye from Si.
Until next time.
And we are Generation Skywalker.